YouTube, J3 A160 from XK. Beautiful plane, a little bit heavy for my taste. Not sure if it's gonna fly well for us. We have a little bit of wind coming from this direction. Make sure you get this rudder linkage all the way in the outside, okay? You'll understand later, or maybe I'll understand in a few minutes. So far, so good. This battery lasts a long time. You'll notice the turns are really flat on this plane. I'm using just the aileron to turn right now. I am in the 6G mode, which is gonna be like your auto leveling mode. Way better performance. What happened to us guys is we were trying to fly this with the linkage in the middle hole. I can't say that I'm still like crazy about the way that it stays flat like that. I don't think it looks very realistic, but I tend to use a little bit of rudder. I mix it in automatically on my planes. Just my brain does it. But you will get into an unrecoverable yaw and you'll go straight to the ground if you're not careful. So I'm gonna click this button on the right. Okay, so we're in basically full control right now. Very snappy on all the axis, but it's still wanting to limit my control. Boy, that was getting wonky as heck. It may be windier up there than it appears from down here. We're kind of protected by the house. This thing is flying better than it flew. We have had a lot of crashes with this plane.
Yeah.
But it's flying good. I just don't like the way that the tail is wiggling around. I'd prefer to see that more coordinated look of a turn. It is flying pretty decent. I haven't crashed it yet. That's better than we can say for any of the other flights. Let's try to take a landing here. So basically with the auto leveling on, you just kind of move the stick to the right on your right stick and it basically makes a turn for you. But it's not maybe as pretty as I'd like it to be because this is a gorgeous plane and it deserves to behave gorgeously. So obviously that was not a good landing. Let's show you guys a hand launch. This thing has really a lot of power. No problem at all with a hand launch if you're flying from grass. Keep your speeds up in the turn. I'm gonna go a little bit higher so you can get the horizon behind it with the clouds.
Okay.
Beautiful fall night. Very, very chilly actually though. About 50% throttle here. One other thing you're gonna notice is the porpoising. If you're at 50% throttle on this plane, at least as it pertains to this transmitter, I just want to show you how easy it flies. Like it just flies itself in a straight line. But when you get to turning and stuff, you need to be prepared to be on the ball. Gorgeous looking little thing. This is by far the best performance. Do not put that linkage in the middle or the inside hole. You will immediately regret it. The flight controller is obviously set up on this thing to accept the outside hole. Of course, I don't remember seeing that anywhere in the manual. And yes, I have the battery stuffed all the way up into the nose. Okay, so you see the landing gear? That's the other thing I've run into on this plane. The landing gear does like to pop out. I'm gonna have the camera crew hold that for just a second. See this? No big deal though. And then we even scraped the wingtip and I don't even see any damage. It's got a really thick coat of paint on it. So one of the most beautiful planes I've seen from XK to date, this is definitely that.
And it's super durable.
It is very durable. We are not probably even going to show all the horrific outtake style videos that we've already made. Just because I think that the biggest problem we had was the simple fact that we had the rudder all the way in the middle hole. God forbid it's in the middle hole. It became unflyable. But look how much better it is, and it's not even dead calm tonight.
No, it's not.
If you don't mind it going a little bit speedy. Okay, so now I'm gonna click the top left button here. I don't think it really has any impact when you're in 6G. Okay, so that's the double click. Maybe it opens up the limited bank angles a little bit. I don't know, it's hard to tell. I would also like to initiate this with the nose, or with the length of the plane pointed level. I feel like this plane would fly better and it would look better, it'd be a little bit less porpoisey if we were able to initiate it just flat instead of initiating it with the tail wheel down. That might be worth trying. The other thing is this 500 milliamp, or is this a 700 milliamp? This battery, we're gonna find out in 10 seconds, I forget. So the CG markings, okay, so I'm gonna show you where I stuffed the battery. I stuffed it all the way up to the nose. I found this kind of like one sweet spot where you can really ram it in there, okay? Which is gonna exaggerate the CG issues if there is a CG issue.
Right.
So real quick, unplug the battery. I'm gonna plug this in and I'm just gonna cheat. I'm just gonna hold it level. Okay, so it's initiated. And I'm gonna give it just a second to make sure for good measure. And this is a 700 milliamp 2S pack, a LiPo. And I'm really impressed with how much better this is flying right now. Night and day, guys. Okay, so what did we do there? Oh, there we go. Did you see that? Mm-hmm. That was what we experienced before. Okay, I'm 50% throttle. I mean, as long as you keep your speed up and you don't try to turn too sharp. But I can tell you this, it doesn't behave anywhere near as bad as we were having before. I just can't imagine that one little hole position makes such a big difference. It's almost unbelievable. Okay, so I'm gonna try clicking the button again. So that's the right trigger. And so that obviously must be taking you out of auto leveling. Gosh, it just gets so wonky on you. And that's symptomatic of a cheap controller. This thing will bind to a jumper from what I've been told by several, which means any open TX transmitter, you can go ahead and bind to it right out of the box, which is nice. Okay, let's go about 4 steps over to your right so we can land if we need to. Oh, that's a nice little ground loop. Yeah. Almost feels like maybe I'm running out of power. And unlike other planes that I've flown, like the Beaver, on the jumper, the Beaver really helped a lot. Or rather, on the Beaver, the jumper helped a lot.
Yes.
Because the jumper just helps with the finite control that you don't get with these cheap radios. It's extremely quiet. Sorry, camera crew.
Okay. So maybe if you really like the way this one looks, because it's cool looking, it might be worth the time. And it can be flown well. Sometimes the more like toy grade stuff, if it doesn't fly good, it just doesn't. But this might have some promise.
And the thing is, I wouldn't even call this toy grade because it has good electronics. It's got a brushless motor. It's got a lot of scale details. I mean, look at the struts on the wings.
It's really cool looking.
About the only thing I don't like on this plane is the tape going to the servos. Like, what the heck? Why didn't they use clear tape? That's so dumb. But the crazy thing is, okay, so get this, guys. On my box, there was a piece of tape that was randomly stuck on this wing, and I peeled it off. I don't think we were on camera at that moment, but I peeled it off and it didn't take the paint off. That just tells you how good of a paint job this thing has. They generally don't have that great of paint because the mold release on the foam wings will just allow that paint to come right off. Now, the other thing too is just look at the beautiful shape of this wing. Look at the simulated fabric wrapping. That's just so cool. I love the way that looks. It's too bad they couldn't have got rid of these little bumps, these little dimples. But other than that, I really like it. I mean, they even have the simulated door here. Guys, I just can't believe it. If you would have seen the videos, which I promise I'm not even going to show them because they're so horrible. That made a humongous difference.
Yeah.
Now, I'm going to do one other test and see if maybe that was part of it, and then the other part was ramming this battery all the way forward. I'm going to pull this up and see there's a certain angle where it'll go in there in 2 different positions. You can see the ESC poking out there, guys. The brushless ESC there. Okay, so just, I'm going to put that back a little bit further just to show you the difference in flight characteristics. I'm not going to sit here and preach about the center of gravity because I honestly don't know what it's supposed to be. But what I am going to do is I'll show you how much better it performs with that battery crammed up into that cavity, okay? Okay, so immediately you can tell it's very understable, almost flying tail heavy. But if I were to put that on my fingers, it would be perfect for the CG.
Supposed CG.
Supposed CG. And I'm like, who puts a CG 2/3 on the back side of the wing? That's so bizarro. Seems to be flying okay. I haven't been into a death spiral yet on this flight. Should I see if I can go up real high and try it for them so they can see what I'm talking about? I just about did it there. Okay, so we're gonna go way up here. Okay, here's the death spiral. See how quick and easy that is? And then you gotta recover. Like almost immediately, you gotta get the nose down. Okay, so I'll show you again. Okay, so this is how easy it is to do, going straight and narrow. And then rudder. Oh, I don't wanna crash on top of us here. Let's go out here a little bit. Okay, so rudder. I can't even hardly get it to do it now. This is great.
Crazy.
I mean, we were having that thing crash like no matter what we did.
Mm-hmm.
I think the key might be kind of just a combination of, oh yeah, also you see the wheel and the rim. You have to sometimes kind of push those out. This cool landing gear. It's cool, but it doesn't do much of anything, guys. It's just mostly decorative, but you do actually get extra springs. And then this is cool too, but it doesn't really do much of anything, to be perfectly honest. I would say, and the other thing is, look how long we've been flying.
I know, we're at 12 and a half on the video.
That's impressive. Okay, so now I'm gonna stuff this battery back in. I'll show you what I'm talking about. See how there's a cavity that goes up to the motor? If you kind of point it at an angle, and if you get it just right, then you can get it in there in a different angle, and then it'll go up there like way further. It's awkward to get in there because if you have hands like mine, your fingers are too big. So you see how much further up there that is?
Yeah.
It's got to be like a 1/4 inch further. So I'm just going to show you the difference now. And I'm still flying. This is just nutty. Oh, okay.
Okay.
So we got no damage, just kind of a bad angle there. We'll try going this way. The wind's a little bit confused. Okay, that's about 40% throttle. Okay, I'm gonna go way up there and see if I can get it to do an unrecoverable crazy spinny thing. Okay, so going around, there it is. See, all you gotta do is just get into the throttle and get the nose down, and it will come out of that unrecoverable stall. It is actually recoverable, but you have to have enough altitude.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's go over into the bright sky so the people can see it. Okay, we're gonna cut full left rudder and right rudder, and aileron. Full throttle. Woo! See, you don't always catch it, but my primary objective, of course I can't show you because I don't have throttle cut, is to full throttle, get the nose going down, get the plane flying again, just like any other plane. Looks like we broke off the battery tray cover. This thing does like to pop off super easy, camera crew, if you don't mind.
Yep.
And then the landing gear popped. Oh shoot, look at that. I broke it right there. Oh, that's a bummer. So this just pops right back in. Right there. And then this, of course, will need to be glued back on, which is not a big deal. I'm not super worried. I mostly just wanted to take one for the team because, guys, I'll be totally frank with you. We've flown this thing on 3 different days, and we had all sorts of problems. And you know what the problems were caused by? It was by that rudder being attached, that clevis being on the middle hole instead of the outside hole. It was a humongous impact. Now, I don't remember the manual discussing it. The manual had a lot of information in Chinese and in English, but the English is so broken on some of these, and this is no exception. This was pretty bad. So we just had to kind of wing it. The other thing too is look how well this thing survived. That one little thing broke. We got full throttle. The prop isn't even bent. Okay, aileron or rudder, ailerons, elevator. And to make it screw up, I had to go both sticks full over now, which is huge because I'm telling you guys, you couldn't get it to not do it before.
Yeah.
So if you're thinking of putting it in the middle hole, just get ready to replace the plane. Because I mean, we've already crashed this thing, what, like 10 times?
Yeah, probably.
So pretty impressive. I'm gonna fix that just because I think it looks really cool, but you could take that thing off and it wouldn't even matter because there's actually a metal frame inside of this landing gear. Yep. Any final thoughts, camera crew?
Way
other
better.
than that you're cold?
I am cold. It's a cool looking plane.
It's very cool, and now that we have it flying decent, I'm way more willing to suggest that you buy this because that was not the way things were going.
No.
So make sure you find the right hole, because if you find the wrong hole, it could be the end of everything.
Sorry.
YouTube, Brian Phillips again with another bag box. I know what this is, and it's gonna be awesome. And I've been waiting for this one, just like other ones that I've recently reviewed, for a long time. Oh my goodness, look at that beauty right there. Look at that beauty. Do you see the beauty, camera crew? Why does this say 4004 on it? Not sure what that means. Hand throwing off. Oh, the Chinese crack me up. It'd be kind of cool if, you know, they would have like an English native speaker proofread these things. Because, I mean, truthfully, they speak more than one language, which is better than I can say for myself. But it would be kind of cool if they could have somebody proof it. Oh, that looks gorgeous. It's the A160 J3 by XK. XK makes some of the best little cheap toy grade airplanes out there. And these ones are approaching hobby grade, if you ask me. I have been wanting this one for a long time. 3D parallel aerobatic flight mode. I have no idea what that is. 3D 6G, so it's got stabilization and auto leveling. Very detailed stuff. Looks like this one's 145 grams, which is great. So we're still outside of the realm of FAA. Drone registry stuff. I hate it when they stick this stuff on the boxes like this. Oh, dang it. I was hoping I could show. Okay, 460 millimeters long, about 650 millimeters wide. So excited to see this thing in flight. So let's go ahead and get started. We're gonna pop it open. Comes with a nice little carrying case, but I think you're probably gonna have to assemble this because pretty sure it wouldn't fit in here with the wings on as such. Okay, so it's got foam inside, which is good. I kind of prefer the foam. I'm a little nervous it's gonna pop out from the sides when I do this though. Okay, so that's empty now, so we can lay that aside. The transmitter is on the back. I'm gonna just get this out of here so I don't drop it. Okay, so the transmitter, which you've come to know and appreciate if you've ever had an XK, the first thing we do when we get a new one is we write what it is, which is the A160, also known as the J3 Cub. Now we know what it is. The transmitter is going to need 4 AA's as expected, so we'll get those shortly. And you can see this thing is super detailed, really high quality assembly. Oh man, these gear are looking good. Finally, some beautiful landing gear. They look a little bit delicate, but that's okay, I can live with that. That is cool. It's actually just this that's doing what it needs. Oh, it even says cup. You gotta give them credit for trying to avoid the copyright violations. Oh wow, it's beautiful. It's beautiful. There is a clear joiner on this. That is very weird. Probably because in the middle of this cub would be a window. Okay, so this is a wing that's inside of this pocket. It's gonna be a little bit tricky to get it out. There we go. So when these wings join together, obviously you're gonna wanna keep those out of the way. That is really cool. Wow. Nice straight wing, no dihedral in it as it would be in the real life. And don't think this is EPP, so no, you don't wanna be bending that. And to be honest with you, guys, I don't have a big problem with the EPO. If this is EPP, it's got a lot of reinforcement in it because it doesn't feel like it would bend at all. Okay, I'm just cutting the tape. I could also just peel the tape. That would also work. Okay, so just lifting that up. It's kind of stuck into the hole of the, wow, that's like really plasticky. What the heck? That's like thick plastic. That can't bode well for the weight, but that is really pretty. Look, they even have instrument cluster in there. Very cool. Got the simulated engine exhaust. That is really cool. It's got a spinner with a hole in it so you can get the screws out. So when you need to replace the prop, which incidentally, I can't see what size it is. We've got the aileron channel. Ooh, look at that. The aileron plug is popped out. That's not good. I'm gonna just slide that back in. Wow, that's like the first time I've ever seen a defect at all on an XK. I'll have to use a pen for that, or maybe an X-Acto knife. In fact, we're gonna do that right now so I don't forget, because it would be easy to forget. My apologies, we have a deadly virus called a common cold right now, so don't worry. So we have this really small screwdriver and we have an X-Acto knife. We're gonna start with the X-Acto knife. All I wanna do is just push this in so that it seats into the connector here, okay? Just gonna grab the lip of that and just very carefully try to push it. And try not to stab myself. Okay, so it went in. You see how that pin came out now? See, there's 1, 2, 3. Did you get that, camera crew? Mm-hmm. Okay, so we're good on that. Awesome. Attention to detail is really cool in this cockpit. You have the tandem seats like you would in a real one. Really excited about that. It is kind of interesting that it says cub here, but then on this it says cup. Not sure why that is. Probably a typographical error. Okay, so it comes with your standard, oh, it's a 2S pack, so it's got the charger included. You just have to provide the USB input. 5 volts at 2 amps is what they're asking for. And the output's 7.4 volts at 500 milliamps. Okay, we've got this beautiful tail assembly. Very obvious how that goes in. It's got this mounting assembly. Well connected left and right sides. That's super, like way nicer than we're used to seeing on this price point for sure. I just want to put it together, but I'm going to resist. And yes, it does come with a spare prop. That's what I was hoping to see. Just like the other XK lineup, like the Beaver, there is 2 little tabs here. So as you slide it in, it locks on, and then the screw just holds it tight. Very nice that it comes with a spare prop. Don't think we're gonna need it because this thing is gonna fly very good. I can already tell just from looking at it. I'm excited to see it fly, and you're gonna be seeing it fly here pretty quick. But let's go ahead and figure out where the battery is. Many times the batteries are stored inside the controller. I didn't see them in there yet. Oh wow, there's extra springs too. Look at this. They have extra springs for the landing gear. Not just 2, but 4 extra springs. Awesome. Unless they're used for something else. And then there's 2 clamps. Oh, so you can take off the wing real quick and easy. And then a bunch of screws here, guys. See? Look, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And then 4 screws. So we're just gonna leave those there. And we're gonna pause and get things cleaned up, get some AA's and come right back. All right, guys, so we're gonna put the batteries in here. We got 4 AA's. The flat side goes to the spring. There's also a small diagram in there, just like most electronics. These are just the cheapest, crappiest ones I could find. There's nothing magical about this.
Wait, was one upside down?
Did I?
No, it was just sorry.
So once they're in like that, you can turn on, make sure the power comes on. Okay, so we'll shut that back off until we're ready. Obviously, we discussed that it came with a charger. This is a 2S charger because the battery in this plane is a 2S battery. Flip it over, you can see there's a battery bay. Not uncustomarily for an XK product. Nice battery tray, but it pops off. I don't like that. I'll probably put a piece of tape on that so that it is allowed to stay on there a little easier. Ooh, very nice. Look at that. It's got a JST connector. That's cool. So that means, oh wow, that's a pretty big battery. This is a 500 milliamp hour 2S with a Hextronics balance charge plug and a JST plug. So what we're gonna do is when you charge this, you'll plug this in. Let's go ahead and show the people at home. Now, we've got multiple different ways we can charge it just because I have a million chargers. But in your case, you're just gonna find yourself probably your run-of-the-mill USB adapter where you'll plug into your laptop or something like that. This happens to be, what is this one? This says on here, it's 5.2 volts at 1.35 amps. They would like to see 2 amps, but sorry, better luck next time, I guess. So we'll plug it into this outlet here. There was a flicker of a light. You see the light turn on? So that light comes on, and then once you plug this in, there's a little green flashing light, okay? So this is a balance charger. So it's gonna charge this thing. And there's 2 cells in here. So both of those cells have to reach 4.2 volts DC. It's probably at a storage level charge. It's gonna monitor that. We'll just show you what it is. In fact, we can use the Spectrum Smart Charger Tester. This should be about 3.8. Yep, 3.9 actually. It's a little bit higher. So we have 475 different ways to charge this. I think in this case, I think what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna charge it on one of my smart chargers just because I wanna do it super ultra fast. So we'll plug this smart charger in. Then we have a little JST adapter here, which is fancy. No battery's been detected, big surprise, because it's not plugged in. It's gonna detect it, it's gonna detect what size it is. And then I'm gonna plug it in. It already tells us our cell count. So I'm gonna press menu. I don't want to charge at 10 amps, that's a little bit much. So this isn't a smart pack, so it doesn't have the settings stored in it, so you have to tell it what to do. So I'm going to charge this at 0.5 amps, which would be a 1S, 1C rather. And we can smart battery, system settings, cells. Battery is a LiPo. Okay, so we'll go on to start, and we'll just click that. So now it's starting the charge sequence. So that's gonna take, oh, I would imagine maybe 10, 15 minutes, if that. So by the time we're done putting everything together, it's gonna be ready to charge. Nothing wrong with this charger. It looks like a decent quality one, but I just don't have any interest in letting it take longer than it has to get the job done. If you buy the model, the important part to remember is it comes with everything except for the AA's, okay? So you do have to buy the AA's, and you do have to supply some sort of a USB charger. Now, USB chargers, they're kind of a dime a dozen, so just get whatever you have lying around the house. Should be okay. The more power output you can get out of it, the faster the charge sequence is gonna go. And you generally won't hurt the batteries by using those because those little charge controllers will keep you safe. So that being said, don't leave batteries charging unattended. If they're unattended, then you can cause problems for yourself, like fires or having batteries that get damaged. That was a different battery that was full. I thought maybe it was this one that was full, so my apologies. So anyway, This is going to be a pretty easy assembly. I did notice I had dropped one screw off of the paperwork. I opened them onto this book because they're just so small. Look how small those things are, guys. Okay, so that's good. And it does come with a provided screwdriver. I provided my own red marker and my own X-Acto knife in case we need them. So I'm going to lay those on this plastic bag so that they're easy to recover. We obviously have the battery out, so we can lay this lid back on and snap it shut. Probably the worst thing on this plane so far is that cover. That's pretty hokey, considering the quality of everything else is just so nice. It's a really stiff frame too. Like, it doesn't feel like it's gonna give a lot. I don't know if that's supposed to be loose like that or not, but it does appear to be screwed in with a screw. So one could take that off if they wanted. Now, I'd be lying if I said I didn't think I could just put this together without looking at the instructions. Okay, installation procedure. Horizontal tail. Fasten the tail to the positioning post below the vertical tail and lock. And lock the screw. Okay, so there's two screws. There's a screw here and a screw there. So I think I have to get these controls on. Oh, look, there's two more springs right there. That's crazy. And see how that's tweaked to the side? That's gonna have to get centered. So that's supposed to be centered, guys. Mine came tweaked off to the side. I'm actually gonna tighten that screw right now too, because that will keep the tail wheel aligned with the rudder. But it's a scale detail that's really unexpected on a plane of this cost caliber. Is that a nice way of saying it? Yeah. So I think this goes under the wing pretty obviously. Whoops. You can see it's somewhat resilient to damage, but I mean, I still don't want to be dropping it a bunch. Mostly because this is going to be a pretty plane and I'd like to keep it that way. So you can see that was a little bit awkward. I don't exactly know the best way to do this. I hope my camera crew is able to get a good angle of this. Huh. How do you do that? Do you just like fold it out? Yeah, I guess you kind of got to just fold it out. That's not real desirable. And you just slide it up. Okay, well, it's in. That was kind of a scary step. And then these things go into the control linkages. I'm going to opt to be in the middle hole. Then you snap it by finger. And then this little rubbery thing can slide out to the end to help keep it, to retain it. We're going to have to check the centering of the servos a little bit later. Same thing here on the elevator. I'm going to just go to the middle hole. I'm sure they probably tell you what hole they want you to put it in. I'm just going to put it in the middle hole anyway. So now let's tighten those two screws in there. There isn't really any indication which screw is supposed to go in. So I would say that we need the long screws because there's 4 long screws and there's 4 short screws. And that screwdriver is dinky. So I'm just going in here. I really have no idea if the long screw is the right move or not. Feels like it's sticking out a lot for being a long screw like that. Almost like I've got the wrong one. Almost like I should be using the short one. See, that one fell in decently now. This screwdriver is weird. Like, it doesn't seem like it fits, but then you get it lined up with the Phillips and it drops right in. It's working. And you want to go until it starts crushing that black piece into the foam. Okay. See how it's pulling it in every time I tweak it? There it goes. So it's in there solid. Now I need to do the second one, or the one that's closer to the front of the aircraft. I wonder if it's just not aligned properly. Probably not a big deal. I can just walk it in there. There it goes. Okay, we got a good bite now. So I got to hold it a different angle here, guys. See, it's pulling that black thing down, which is nice. It's going to make it more pretty. So that disappears. Then obviously we have a little bit more to bite. I'd like that to seat down a little better, but I don't think it's going to go any more than that. Okay, so the next step is going to be remove the left and right wings, remove the active joints of the aileron wires. What? And put the struts up before attaching the joints. Does that make any sense to you?
No.
Okay. I think what they're talking about is just the simple fact that you need to get this under the wing and plug in your wires before you continue, okay? Let's try that. I'm gonna sit because it's kind of a lot to juggle. It'd be nice if there was landing gear on here, but I think the landing gear have to go on after. Okay, I told you guys I could do this without instructions, and I probably could. I'd probably be better off to not read the instructions. No, I don't know which one's which, and it probably honestly doesn't matter. Okay, so I'm gonna slide this in, and you're probably asking yourself, but Brian, how do you tell which way goes which? Well, you see this here, how there's that hole, that square hole, and then on this side it's got like an open face. There's a little tab right there. That tab indicates which side you can go. You can also look at the brown to black, the red to red, and the orange to white. Okay. Now these leads are going to have to get stuffed into the plane so that I can secure everything properly. I'm looking through the window to do this, by the way. Yeah, some. I just don't want to have all the wires plopped down to where they're visible inside the canopy or inside the cockpit area, but I think you're probably not going to be able to get around that very good. Oh, this clear plastic goes all the way around. I don't know how you're supposed to get those tucked in. That's kind of weird.
Do they tuck into that little window thingy?
Here?
No. Here.
I mean, they could, but you would be able to see them then.
Why not?
I mean, you're going to be able to see them no matter what. I think you see this little channel. I wonder if that's what they're expecting you to do, is to actually tape these down here and here, and then follow this little designated path, which is going to get those wires back to where they actually need to drop down. You know what? That's what we're going to do. We're going to go get some tape and come right back. So one thing that kind of irks me on this model, guys, is that they use this fiber reinforced tape here. And like, you go through all this trouble to make this plane beautiful, and then you just plop down this ugly packing tape. Like, really? That's annoying to me. But I still really like the plane, and it's still really detailed. So I'm just gonna actually take this little piece of just regular run-of-the-mill tape, nothing special about it. And I'm just gonna hold down the wires where they need to be with this tape as I go. It's gonna make about 4 bends, so you have to be a little bit prepared to kind of fight it along the way. You see what I've done there, guys? It's not really like hard, but it's just a little bit strange that type of step wasn't handled. I mean, you get into a more higher quality plane like this, and they've done a lot of things really nice on this plane, so I just don't understand why they didn't finish the job on this. And I'm kind of squishing the wire into the recess that they have allowed for. And this is not going to be seen, so not super critical. But you see how I've kind of made that little jog over? Now you see there's also this passage here that I ended up with a piece of tape over it. That's where your control or your mount is going to go through, this little thing. So you want to make sure if you have tape over that opening, cut it so that you can pass through it. Okay, so now that that's in there, now I just have to figure out how can I manipulate these wires to get tucked in. because those connectors are pretty big too. I'm not sure how I'm going to do it yet. I really would like to make this thing pristine looking when I'm done. And it just doesn't want to let you stuff it in there. See what I'm doing? It just doesn't want to go any further. Well, there it's letting me get a little bit further now. Maybe I can do this. Just to kind of braid the cable together, which might give me a little bit more stiffness to be able to ram it in the hole. Okay, so that's quite a few twists, okay? So now I'm gonna try to ram it in. Come on, you can do it. Okay, we'll try using the screwdriver. That does kind of push it in, but I don't want to break it. Okay, a couple more turns it is. So once you've turned it 475 times, then you should be able to just slide it in there, because you just got a little bit more stiffness there. Okay, drop the arms down. And before I finish this, I'm just gonna set these up here. Just ready to go. And I think we use the small screws. I'm just not sure I want to put those screws in just quite yet. What do you think, camera crew?
Probably not, right?
I'm not sure. I'm not sure. You can definitely see where those wires need to be tucked in somehow. I'm just not sure what I'm doing wrong. That's my charger saying that we have a full charge. We're ready to just kind of force that in there. Boy, this is a strange thing. I mean, you get some of these planes and you think, oh, look at that. You can set those up. That's super nice. See that? See those things go here. What a beautiful detailed plane. And then how do they manage to miss the boat on such an obvious thing? Like the two wires.
Yeah.
Because there's no instructions about it. If there are, they're probably in a different language. I'm just not sure what to do. I'm just going to kind of squish it into the center and just kind of like force it down. See what I'm doing? What a mess. What a mess. Oh, well, unless I can pull off this access cover.
Yeah, that could be the answer.
Well, that's just like a way for the air to get through, but that's where the leads are going. I just don't, does it come off? That would make me look pretty dumb if it did.
Are they expecting you to just put it in the cockpit?
You can't put it in the cockpit because that's plastic right there on the top. So that's why I was saying at the beginning, it just doesn't really go in there. I'm just using this like a screwdriver here. Goodness gracious. Trying to use the tools that I have out so that I don't have to go get any more. And also so you guys don't have to get any more. There we go. There is a clip, so you can actually unclip this. There it goes. Okay, so I unclipped that. My hope is I can get in there and reach the wires, because you can see where they're coming down. Right there, it's a Y cable. That's what it is. So this is the Y cable right there. See that? Ooh. See the whole thing move? That's probably not a good sign. Because if I can pull on that cable, then that's going to pull all this excess through, which is going to resolve my problem. It could be. I think what we're going to be forced to do is try using some needle nose pliers to see if we can pull them up in. That would be a good place for some forceps or hemostats if you prefer. So I'm going to use these and very carefully. Very carefully. Yeah, see, I can't get in there with the tool. Okay, well, didn't expect this problem at all, guys. That's why you watch unboxings, I guess. So you can figure out that you're gonna have an issue like this. This is not a big issue, it's just annoying.
Can you make a pocket? Like cut a pocket?
Yes. Yep, and I'm at the point now where that's what I'm doing. Because I just want to be able to tuck it in there and be done with it. So I'm just going to make the pocket just a little bit bigger, but I got to be careful not to cut the wires. In fact, I'm just going to pull that back up a little bit so I can control it a little better. That stuff is hard to cut, goodness gracious. Okay. So you can cut as you're just going down up against the plastic. The hard plastic canopy. Okay, so I get the blade side away from the wires now. Okay. That stuff is like the most rubbery, strange plastic or foam. This thing is way more sturdy than the Beaver. The Beaver was the other XK product that was a really good flying one. I still haven't quite figured out if this has a brushless motor or not. If it has a brushless motor, that's an incredible value. I think it does. Okay, so you can see kind of what I'm doing here, guys. I'm just making a place for all this to pack down into. I know for a fact you can pull that wire through, but I'm just not sure that I'm real interested in going to such great lengths. You see how this is plastic here, guys? This is part of the window assembly, if you will. Okay. So now I can kind of control it a little better too, which is nice. But you get to the certain point where there's nowhere to go. Can they even see what's going on? Can you go over my right shoulder? How about that?
Okay.
Okay, so then I can tuck this down. Just squish that into the foam. Okay, so now we have a nice little pocket for it. Okay, well, that was horrible. I definitely did not like that process. That was not as easy as it should have been. And then these things clip in here. Oh my goodness. Well, you're not going to be taking this thing apart, like ever. Because that was ridiculous. See that, guys? Look at that. How are you going to deal with that? How are you going to deal with that? You're going to push it down like that and just let the foam take it? I suppose you could.
Do you have another choice?
I don't know. I don't think you do, really. See, once you push that up, then that holds the wing down tight. I actually want to use pliers for this. Probably don't have to use pliers, but you see, you got to push pretty hard to get that thing to turn. See, now it's turned? Mm-hmm. So now that wing is locked in. It is really sturdy now, that wing. But that was like way too hard. What the heck? Look at this side. Do you see what's going on? Do you see what's going on?
Is there no opening?
I don't know. Am I not lined up properly? I mean, it should be pretty straightforward because at this point, it's either there or it's not, right? There it goes. You just had to have it all the way over. Twist it. Man, you got to turn that hard. You got to push really hard on your fingers. Not used to, and you see this little bulge here? That bulge would not be present if that wire could be pulled through. I'm almost wondering if maybe my wire was out too far. Right here, this wire. Why are you going back? This wire here. I'm just wondering if there's a way for me to figure out how to pull that through and just get that up into this cavity, because then I can get rid of some of that slack. Okay, see, I'm definitely pulling it up in here. Yeah, I would not encourage using the... You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to pause it and get hemostats. So hemostats or forceps. So now I can get in here and actually, you know, like somewhat carefully pull those wires through. There it goes. I just made it through with the back end of the connector, which is a Y connector. See that Y connector coming up there, camera crew? Mm-hmm. I'm just doing this real short pulls at a time. Okay. All right. Given that we can pull that through, now I can release this wing, let it out of the assembly. Okay, just like that. And now I can pull the slack up through. That was ridiculous. Well, I'm pulling pretty hard, and it's not coming anymore.
Are you to the connectors?
I don't think so. The connectors are pushed tight. I assume we've got them all the way in there now. Okay, so guys, that was horrible. I mean, I've had some stupid things come up during the assemblies of these airplanes, but given the fact that we've now pulled that through, I'm gonna straighten up these wires a little bit. Okay, so you see how I straighten those wires there? I just don't wanna have to redo this again. Okay, so I'm just gonna flatten that. I'm gonna pull it up just a little bit, and I think we can squish that down now. Yeah, it's a lot better now, a lot better. Lot better fit and finish now. So just going back to my needle nose pliers, I can go ahead and try to push that through, look through the window, twist it 90 degrees, and that locks it in. And you can see we're nice and flush now. Maybe not 100% flush, but we don't have a 2 millimeter lift on that. See, the problem is your angle of attack on the wing will be changed if you were to leave that big, huge bump back there, okay? Beautiful, okay. All is forgiven. Now let's keep on with the assembly. Obviously at this point we can slide these little plastic thingies together, which should take about 3 seconds. They're in, and then this is gonna go here, I believe. The instructions are not totally unclear, but I just need to make sure, are they gonna get screwed in there in the same spot? Because that's kind of what it looks like now. Like that goes under this, and then the one screw goes in. Mm-hmm. Does that make sense to you, camera crew?
That's what it looks like in that picture.
Okay, fine. So I'm gonna line these in here to try to get the alignment right. I wouldn't say this is like especially hard, but it's definitely not as easy as I thought it was gonna be. It's a really decent quality model. I'm just annoyed they didn't work through that one detail. You know? Okay, so you see that? Now I gotta somehow hold all this at the same time and get a screw started, which is gonna be phenomenally difficult. Especially when you're talking about a screw being this small. Mm-hmm. Okay, so there's the screw. Good lordy. I'm just waiting for it to shoot across the room. Like hit the cat in the eyeball. I'm line this one up. I'm still not 100% certain I'm doing this right, this step. I could be. See, that's on there now. It looks pretty good. I must have it right. Okay, so we're gonna get another short screw. You can see the short versus the long ones we use back here. So you have to get that thing in and ready to go. Then you kind of have to drop it through the top hole and then kind of pull the bottom hole until they align. Just not very convenient. Then once you get it started, then you can start searching for the hole on the back of the frame. So I'm using my middle finger to lift up on this, and then I'm putting downward pressure with a screw. And you see what's going on with this?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so we'll drop those in there. That'd be nice to be able to glue those actually.
Mm-hmm. So pretty loose.
They look like they're not going to stay in worth a darn. In fact, I'm like 100% certain they're not going to stay in. And they are sweet looking, so I would like to glue those in. So I'm going to go get some glue and we'll be right back. Okay, so we're going to put a little bit of CA on this plastic bag here just to make it easy. This is not foam safe, so I'm being a little bit careful. I'm going to use this. I'm going to use the tip of this. What is this thing?
Toothpick.
Toothpick. Thank you. You know the thing. So we're going to take this and we're just going to slip it down into the plastic. Okay, CA is not going to be maybe like the absolute first choice for this, but it'll work. Okay, so then I'm just using Kicker to set it right away, insta-set. Okay, so then I'm going to come back in here with a little bit more CA. I mean, I'm just barely putting any on here, guys. And I'm just going to wrap it around the corner there. Sometimes when you use CA on a delicate plastic, it'll be a little bit too brittle. But then there's also the secondary problem of the fact that it'll sometimes cloud on the plastic, especially clear plastic. So I'm just getting a couple of drips. I want to really be able to control this. So 1, 2, 3 drips. Just a real small amount of CA. Now I can take that and I can transfer it over and just really get it in there. Okay. Hope you can see that good, camera crew. Mm-hmm. Okay, so now that that's done, we can look at the other side, which is the same exact scenario. We'll just go ahead and lift those out. There was just a little bit better retention on that side for some reason. I'm not sure why. So it's a little easier to work with this side because there's a little something already holding it together. This is just Bob Smith Industries CA. It's nothing special. I mean, except that it just happens to be what I use. There we go. So the nozzle must have been clogged because I was really pushing on it. And now it started coming out. Okay, so I got a lot more than one drip there, that's for sure. Okay, so I'm gonna apply it to the tip. Applying it to the tip on both sides. Of course, I have to support it to do this, and you have to work fairly quick. Yeah. So this is gonna force a little bit of dihedral into the wing, which is why I'm being so particular about getting this done. Okay, so I just used the bottom. There's a bunch of CA on there. It's been used a million times like that. Okay, now I'm gonna come back in here and just hit the sides. And it'll work great. It'll work really fast and it'll work effectively, okay? A little bit more than I meant to put on that back part, but it's okay. I'm just kind of painting it on the side there. And that should hold it really nicely then. Okay, so now as I lift this, I'll support it. Okay, cool. So you can see there's just a little bit of dihedral now into the wing. And then this is just so cool. Look at that, that's so cool. Okay, so now earlier on, we pulled out this cover to try to pull through the Y cable. You'll notice that the Y cable is in a good spot. Okay, so it's not gonna be interfering with the throw on those two servos there. But this wire might, so I'm gonna push that down a little bit. Gotta get my pinky in there so I can reach it. Okay, good, so that's out of the way. And this just has two little clippies that just hang onto the foam. My concern is putting that back in, you're gonna wanna be real careful you don't just rip the foam out, because if you rip the foam out, it ain't gonna stay. Okay, so that's in there solid. Wow, that is really pretty. That is really pretty. I like that a lot. I'm super excited to see it fly, which is gonna be happening in mere moments, but that is gorgeous. It's also, feels like it's heavy. Heavy is not a good thing on airplanes, okay? Heavy is a bad thing, generally speaking. But if you have enough power, you can make it fly fast enough to continue flying. The trade-off is, of course, if you have a heavy plane, you can have a lot more details squeezed into it. So that's part of the reason why I was drawn to this aircraft, is just because it's got a lot of scale details, and I like scale details. So now, man, that is gorgeous. Look at that. Really pretty. Even the tail wheel's pretty. And those landing gear, I don't think the landing gear are gonna actually splay out much. Just a little teeny bit of action there. But I like that it doesn't have Tundra tires. Tundra tires are nice, but Tundra tires on every single aircraft is maybe a little much. Just looking through the instruction manual. Looks like everything is pretty straightforward. It does have a brushless motor, and you can access the brushless motor by taking the cowl off. Take off the prop, then the cowl. The brushless motor has a motor mount. I can't wait to see this thing fly. So I'm excited about this. Our battery is charged, so we're just gonna pause, get things cleaned up, and we'll come right back. If you guys haven't seen it already, the flight is, you guys have probably already seen it. Obviously we haven't. This thing looks great. It is ready to fly with the exception of, in our case, we used a little teeny bit of glue and we used 4 AA batteries for the transmitter. This thing looks really good. I hope it flies half as good because it is gorgeous. And I can't wait to see it in the air. If you guys are wanting to buy one of these, just check the link in the description below and you can have one for your very own. If you're thinking about getting this for a Christmas present for somebody, buy it today. Don't wait until next week or 2 weeks from now, because stuff has taken a long time from China and that's just the way it's gonna be for a while. So you have to plan accordingly. So if you think you like it, it's not a huge gamble because it's relatively inexpensive, and XK does have a good reputation. You've already seen it fly by now and you've seen it go together, with the exception of getting those wires through. It was pretty easy assembly. So definitely cool. A little bit tricky to put together, but definitely cool. Come back for more. We got all sorts of stuff. Don't forget to like, subscribe, click the bell for notifications. We have tons of stuff coming out in the next few months, and we hope to keep you around, keep you satisfied. If you have questions, put them in the comments below. We're really good about trying to follow up with people. We're not gonna leave you high and dry and never respond to a comment like many of the other channels out there. But this thing is awesome. Thanks for staying and watching the whole thing. Come back for more. All right, YouTube. I just wanted to talk about a couple of things. You've probably by now, you've already seen the flight. I want to talk about a couple of things that I don't necessarily cover in the setup. This is in the outside hole. I put it in the middle hole on the initial flight. I'm hoping that that will help a little bit with the over control by the rudder. And then I also did find the center of gravity marks. Now you'll notice I marked it both ways, which is kind of stupid, but measuring from the leading edge, they said 65 and 55 millimeters, excuse me, 65 and 55 millimeters. So like this is 65 and that's 55. And I just thought to myself, there's no way that the center of gravity is 2/3 of the way back on the quarter of the wing. That's very strange. So anyway, I marked all 4 of them. So basically measured from this point, this is 65 to 55, okay? So I've got the battery in there and I'm just gonna put my fingers on the 2 front holes or 2 front points. And you can tell that it's centered out just fine. And now I'm gonna put them on the middle position, and it's nose heavy. So basically, if you went to the spots where you're supposed to mark it from, which is from the leading edge to 65 and leading edge to 55, you're like way nose heavy. And I don't know how you could correct that with this provided battery. So I just want you to be aware the center of gravity is in some question. Now, the other thing too is an overstable plane may actually help with some of the tendencies on this. So we'll see how it does now, but I can just tell you this, make sure that this is here, okay? Don't put that on the inside hole, don't put it on the middle hole, put it on the outside hole for sure. The other thing too is, I'm wondering if, just for more elevator authority, we may need to go to the bottom hole for that, but we're gonna go ahead and try to fly it. The other thing too is when you plug your battery in, make sure you get this thing right away, put it on the flat, okay? Because it will initiate out of angle, okay? So like if it's like this when you're doing it, or if it's like this and then it finally, you get it into some strange position for a second, it'll think that's home position. So you wanna be aware of those couple of things. Hopefully the flight went well.